Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful empowered harmonizers. And we're zooming in and focusing in a little bit more in depth in terms of understanding some more tools that you can use when it comes to dealing with a difficult person, a toxic person, difficult situation, a toxic situation that may involve someone who is bossy, pushy, arrogant, conceited, narcissistic, textbook narcissistic, malignant narcissistic, psychopathic, where you've really got some power plays going on, some status plays going on, some judgment plays, opinion plays, boundary violation, cut downs, criticisms, belittling, minimizing, just all the different uncomfortable social situations that you might find yourself in, especially around the holidays, birthdays, etc. And so really one of the important tools, especially if you've dealt with these people or you were love bombed with these people, or you had like your ups and downs where you've got the intermittent reinforcement where there's been some good, there's been some bad, and there's been some ugly, and there's been some beautiful. So how, kind of once you're involved with someone who you maybe, and then now, are feeling victimized by. You're feeling powerless because of the way that they are, their personality type, or where you're at in your life, or where you're at in the relationship, or even the other people involved. It becomes this social situation where it becomes awkward to confront them, and you feel that you could, encounter more of a blow up or a rage if you speak your feelings. So you're having to bottle it all up. And as we all know, that bottling up stress, tension, maltreatment is not healthy. It creates a negative environment in the body, which causes the cells to break down, which is a perfect host environment for sickness, disease, basically breakdown behavior, breakdown of your mindset as well. Not only a physical breakdown, but an emotional sort of not being able to put your thoughts together in order to address it and feel that things were handled adequately. So one of the important things to keep in mind when you're in the midst of this, or you find yourself in the midst of this, is to understand how to take responsibility for your feelings, both in the short term as well as in the long term. And taking responsibility is to know really where your responsibility begins and ends, and not taking responsibility for something that is not your responsibility, not trying to control the outcome of something that you are indeed powerless over. And knowing what you can change and have the power to change, and what you don't literally have the power to change or influence. And so not to even try, not to confuse yourself or set yourself up for disappointment, knowing that you really can't control specific things, and understand what you do have power to change, and invest your time and energy and focus on those things. And furthermore, surround yourself with people, situations, events, and relationships that are enhancing of that and giving you pleasure to that, and then really sort of not focusing and not including in your schedule, your routine, that which is unpleasant, which you don't find supportive, enjoyable, comforting. But yet we all find ourselves in situations that are going to be awkward, or unpredicted situations where we're going to be in situations where we can't control everything. So how do we really find responsibility and deal with these sometimes awkward situations when you're dealing with someone who can be very unpleasant and downright mean or rude? And you kind of want to be able to address that. And, but to oftentimes, an important tool is to understand what you're responsible for and what you're not responsible for. What you're responsible for in the short term and what you're responsible for in the long term. So namely, what you're not responsible for is on other people's reactions, other people's viewpoints, other people's religion, other people's political stance, other people's body weight, other people's eye color, other people's hair color, how they present themselves. You are not responsible for that. And to take that on as your own would be to take on the impossible, and certainly too much work for you to try to influence that. And what you are responsible for are your feelings, your opinions, your religion, your political viewpoint, how you dress, your hair color, the color of your eyes that God gave you, etc. Your own body weight. These are things that you have control over. So it's important to, even though it might be kind of laughable or obvious, once you really kind of reflect on that topic, you really do begin to delve into and basically understand what you can control or positively influence by how you take responsibility for your feelings, and what you do not take responsibility or have no need to influence or direct, that you are not responsible and accountable for. Certainly there's a shared gray area, particularly that if you have hurt somebody's feelings and this has become an issue, particularly that if you have abandoned somebody or they have abandoned you and there's been disagreements and there is indeed a shared gray area. That is a shared relationship. There is definitely overlap there where you can say, I am sorry, I was wrong, and let's move on. I'm sorry, I was out of place. That was inconsiderate. Anyways, I apologize. I can see that hurt you. So just having transition statements like that sometimes are enough to call it to attention and to say, I'm sorry. And if it happens again, well, it happens again, but we learn to sculpt our own understanding and grow through time. And yet, if there's something that we, need to address, oftentimes it needs to be addressed within and take responsibility within before you enter into situations. So it's very important to do this exercise before you enter into situations and are feeling out of line or uncomfortable. But furthermore, how do you address your feelings and become comfortable, calm, cool, collected, and focused on the right things while you're in the midst of these relationships? And then how can you address it so you're not encouraging more, discomfort? In other words, how can you then take, in the midst of these situations, how can you put your focus on something positive, something empowering, something that's meaningful? How can you arm yourself ahead of the situation so you're living and not just coping? And this is a skill that gets better with time, repetition, and experience. It's very important for you to have these go-to focus moments. Go-to feel-good moments. Feel good. How can I make myself more comfortable? And, how can I become comfortable in this situation and with myself? And so perhaps I might not even be comfortable with not influencing or directing or guiding somebody. In other words, how do I show and deliver that I care without, being too controlling, without being too insultory or derogatory? In other words, not getting somebody to change by yelling, by criticizing. Sometimes you literally cannot change a person. You cannot change people. You can't control certain things. You can't control the choices that people make. This is their, God-given free will. This is their, ability. If they're a teenager, perhaps they need assistance. As they get into their 20s and 30s, well, certainly, they're in that area of their life where they need to be making their own choices. They need to be making their own decisions. They might make a lot of bad decisions, but that is going to be that's going to be on them. And, it's not your responsibility to try to save them or direct them or salvage, be into a situation where you're feeling you have to salvage somebody. At some point you have to let go of that weight and that burden, and it has to be on them. And, to make yourself more comfortable, you can say, well, if they ever do change, I will always be here, and then you can make it clear that, I'll always support you, I only want the best for you, and this doesn't seem like one of them, no matter how huge that might seem, and then you just, but preface it, one important skill where you then focus on your feelings and not their outcome is indeed just to show and share with them your positive feelings and then the good place that it's coming from. And say that, this is coming from a good place. I only want the best for you. I can see how this could pan out, and, it's a concern, and I just want to let you know that that's a perception, that's a feeling that I have, that's an opinion. And I'm not here to judge you, but I'm just saying. And so if you preface it when you're dealing, you are focusing on your feelings and how it makes you feel, especially in the positive, saying, I have good intentions when I say this. No, only, that I only think the world of you. I only love the world of you. But I can see where this would, cause you a lot of stress, strain, and perhaps be, a difficult decision for you, and, they haven't always thought things through, but that's on them. And you can always be there, and you can always then tell them, I feel I'll always be there for you. Or, I feel, that we've discussed this enough now. If you ever want to pick it up again later, show some boundaries and then the I feel statements. Boundaries and then the I feel statements, and prefacing it with something positive so that you're showing them it's coming from a positive space. And that is what they will remember. That is, people will remember the positive, and they will want to resist the negative. People don't want to hear criticism, complaining, derogatory, focusing on the negative. I mean, people don't want to spend, a lot of time there. It's just not a feel-good thing. Maybe some people, want to stay there, or, that's up to them though. But most people, by and large, they don't like to stay angry, hostile, aggressive, fighting, struggling, those sort of things. So if you deliver the message on how you feel, and then also saying it for the short term and then for the long term. Saying that, I can see where they would make this decision now. However, I feel for the long run, and then you're kind of showing, moving in the future, I'll always be here for you. I feel now, just based on my experience, this is what I've seen. And so backing it up with factual, objective, experience also gives weight and credibility to, your explanation. In other words, I'm not just flying off the cuff. This comment is not just in my self-interest. This is just not to make me, ruler over your world. That's not my intention. I'm not here to, to try to control you. It's just I'm sharing with you my experience and what I've seen and what I know to be true. So you can preface it with that as well, and so it shows that they're on their hook and you're on your hook. You are responsible really for your feelings, and it's important to realize that, especially when you're going into situations where there might be some conflict or conflict of interest. And so it's important to enter into that situation so that you feel comfortable, and that once you're there, how do I ask yourself, how do I make myself even more comfortable? While you're in that situation, how do I make myself comfortable? Do you mind if I make myself comfortable? And then get comfortable, just be at ease. And then ask yourself while you're in the midst of that situation, and how can I be even more comfortable? And then once you're there, how can I be even more comfortable? How can I be even more comfortable? Are you looking at a newspaper? Are you, sharing something from the internet? Are you sharing some stories? Can I share this? And then getting people's attention by asking for their permission. Can I share a story here? So you're, getting into agreement will do a lot to sort of bridge that gray area where there can be a lot of tension. Do you guys mind if I share a story? Do you mind if I share a fact? Do you mind if I share something from this? And then you give yourself the positive attention, and then you have a shared agreement or shared airspace, if you will, when you're in the midst of that situation. And you're getting agreement, you're getting, an okay, you're getting an, yes, you're getting their free will. So you don't want to do it on a matter of force, but out of cooperation, and just say, hey, can I get your cooperation here? Is another good statement that you can make while you're in the midst of those situations, no matter who you're dealing with. May I get your cooperation? May I get your input? do you mind, do you mind, what, could you listen to this? Or, what are your thoughts on this? Asking some positive, but showing is respectful ways of being able to limit the situation. And there's people who are going to talk your ear off or shut you out. They're not going to give you the attention. It's like, and then you feel bad by curtailing it or setting a boundary. But oftentimes you do, because there are some people who are narcissistic, malignant narcissistic, psychopathic, who are deceptive, who are trying to make themselves, appear the boss, the status, they're looking for that support. And unequivocally, don't feel bad by not giving them that control. Unequivocally, don't feel that you're in the wrong by not, they are not the boss of you. They don't have monopoly over your time. You have monopoly over your own time, including what you focus on, including how you spend your time, including what you do, your behaviors, your choices. They are not the monopoly of you. And if the moment you start to feel this, begin to say, you know what, I kind of feel like this is like monopolizing my time, and they're sort of, trying to take too much away from you. So if you feel that occurs, unequivocally know that that is not healthy if they're taking that, positive away from you, and it's all about them. Know in your mind and in your heart that it does not have to be all about them. It does not have to be that way. No matter how they might have conditioned you, it might have been in the past, certainly in the present, things can change, but you have to come into that growth of awareness now, and in the privacy of these videos, understanding that it is your responsibility and accountability to yourself to make yourself comfortable and arrive with those cognitive thought forms that put things back into perspective and give you the tools. So it's kind of like the self-growth, self-improvement mode, which we're in right now, which is to understand what you have the right to and what others don't have the right to. And, they can't help themselves to your time. They can't help themselves to your opinions. They can't help themselves to your feelings. And they can't help themselves into, into making you feel bad, but they will try. They unequivocally will try until you put the kibosh on it, until you put the no on it, until you put the I know better. I know better now. Now that I've gone through this, I know better. Now that this has happened, I know better. And this is how to protect myself. This is how can I be more comfortable in taking more responsibility and accountability for my feelings in this situation? Can I breathe deep? Can I, say, this is really interesting that I'm here again. This is really fascinating. This has really gotten my attention, and for me to become more comfortable and happier, it's best for me too. So, for example, let's just use an example. A lot of people are very uncomfortable in traffic. Isn't this interesting? Look at all the people. Isn't this fascinating? They've used this road. Even if you're sort of conjuring up these feelings, it is important, because it's important exercise, because you're creating a new, fresh perspective. You're creating new thoughts, which lead to new emotions and new feelings, and is a skill for you to live in a situation so you're not feeling like you're trapped, you're powerless. And that is a good way for you to get control and more power over yourself and your feelings and how you direct your attention. And then you'll say, well, look at these beautiful trees along the side of the road. Look at this grass. Look how this municipality has put this here. Look at this sign. Look at this store. I mean, instead of, beating up your car, beating up the steering wheel, honking, and those people are like entering into the rage, you can unequivocally change your feeling and your mindset while you're there. Can we put a book on tape? Can we put on the news? Can we put on some music? Can I put on my iPad? Can I put on my iPhone and listen to some videos? How can I turn my car into a mobile university? How can I get educated while I'm in this traffic jam? Maybe I can make a phone call. So this is just an idea of the full spectrum of different ideas of things that you can think of and live in the solution while you're in the midst of this. So in other words, how can you take responsibility and accountability for your own feelings and make yourself feel comfortable, and then more comfortable, and then more comfortable, and then continue to ask yourself some questions, those questions. And so that you're basically making yourself feel very comfortable and then surprisingly happy and living in those situations and not just coping. This is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today, and I hope that these videos do help. Please share, please subscribe, and please donate for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support. Also, yes, before we wrap up, I just want to give a huge shout out to those of you who have recently donated to the channel. Thank you so much. It is so great to hear from you. Thank you for your contribution in helping keep the channel alive. It's greatly appreciated. Have a beautiful day. Peace out.